Ladies and gentlemen, pro wrestling fans throughout the world, including me, we are very saddened to announce that pro wrestling pioneer, uh, icon, legend, the superstar, Hulk Hogan, has passed away. He suffered a heart attack at his home. Police, emergency services, and fire department were all there trying to help him, try to make sure that he's okay. But unfortunately, 11/17 today, he died at 71. As of right now, my thoughts and prayers are out to his family, his friends, and the entire fans that loved Hulk Hogan very much. As of right now, before I talk about memories of Hulk Hogan and his career, and not just from my standpoint, but from Eric's standpoint as well, we're about to have a 10-bell salute.
You just audio at the moment?
Yeah, I'm audio at the moment. Right. We will have a 10-bell salute for Hulk Hogan. If I can find that video, hopefully. Here we go. So here is our 10-bell salute to the iconic Hulk Hogan. Hello, everybody. Shooby-doo. Welcome to another special stream to commemorate an iconic legend, Hulk Hogan, passing away at 71. When I heard the news, I was just waking up. When did we wake up? Like around noon? Close to noon. So pretty much he just died, like about
sometime this morning.
Like about a half hour, almost 45 minutes. And that's when the news broke that he died. It's like, oh my God, no way. And we just lost Ozzy Osbourne not too long ago. Yeah, we lost Ozzy Osbourne 2 days ago. And that was very devastating for me because My dad loved Ozzy Osbourne a lot, and I mean a lot. Now this, I mean, Hulk Hogan definitely was the guy, and I mean it, the guy that put WWE where it's at to this day. If it wasn't for Hulk Hogan and his rise to his global superstardom, WWE would have still been a Madison Square Garden show, including WrestleMania. So, some may say, "Oh well, it's Vince McMahon." No, definitely Hulk Hogan was the man. He was the man that made global superstardom for wrestling. For wrestling to the biggest T ever. And of course, he has his inspirations for superstar Billy Graham because he was supposed to be the superstar back then. And then Hulk Hogan magnified that superstardom times 1,000 and magnified it even more when he left for WCW, especially when he did the New World Order, because that's when I first started to get into wrestling. Was around the time the New World Order was starting to come through. Scott Hall, yeah, my first memory of watching pro wrestling was Scott Hall walking through the audience and told everybody, "You want a war? You got one." And pretty much after that, we didn't afford pay-per-view, but we overheard about, from my, I think, I'm not too sure if it was around, because it happened around in the summertime when 96 Bash at the Beach happened. And I remember how big of a deal was when Hulk Hogan turned heel and joined the Outsiders. I mean, it was one of those monumental, game-changing, industry-changing heel turns. And the one that worked for quite a bit until it fell flat. And hey, everything in wrestling works well until it falls flat. It is what it is. That's the name of that's pretty much the business. Wow. But man, uh, definitely Hulk Hogan, I mean, would say you definitely have one of the greatest championship reigns over 4 years. Um, he's not one of the, multi, 17 time, type of, champions, but he definitely made his, reigns, met more very well. And especially with his 4-year reign, I mean, he was known as the American hero, a real American, of course. Everything, because when it back, when he was doing, Vince McMahon was doing, WWF, he wanted to try to get a, a big message out, like a very huge message when it comes for having the Iron Sheik involved. And Hulk Hogan, the real American hero, trying to get back the championship from an Iraqi apologist, character type of a thing. And we have an Iraqi champion who is an he's definitely an Iraqi, was one of the biggest champions in wrestling in his state, and moved to the U.S. for WWE, WWF at the time, and became a champion, one of the true heel champions that we've had. And then he gave the biggest push to Hulk Hogan in Madison Square Garden for that championship reign. And by God, when he first won the championship, Madison Square Garden erupted in joy. And trust me, that was a moment, in wrestling. Another great moment, him lifting Andre the Giant in WrestleMania 3. That was a big moment in wrestling history when WWF jumped way up on WrestleMania 3 by going to the Superdome. Now, you can question how many people was in there. There definitely was a lot of people in that building. And, of course, as time progressed, we had him going to WCW, and then, of course, having him with the WCW Championship with the NWO. And then he did more than just, WCW and WWE. He also got involved in TNA. He also had a reality show, Hogan Knows Best. Now, obviously, there are not so great memories of him, within the recent years for Hulk Hogan. But here's the thing. At this moment, what matters right now is how much he did in the pro wrestling world. Because wrestling would not be where it is today if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan. WWE wouldn't be where it's at today if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan. And now, because, to be honest, that was a little bit of a, trying to lighten up on one of the few things, but it's still a very devastating loss. I was jokingly around and saying, hey, we now have a new immortal champion now. We have Ric Flair. Ric Flair is now the immortal one. It's crazy to think that Ric Flair, who pretty much has admitted throughout his entire career when it comes for him getting prepared for matches and anything, 10 beers and 5 cocktails. It's like, how did he do it? And he constantly did it throughout his career. 10 beers, 5 mixed cocktails.
Okay.
Pretty much. Because he wanted to have the party life. And if there's people in the bar, he will buy drinks for that one, and that one, and that one. I mean, he drank quite a bit. So, it's crazy to think that he outlived Hulk Hogan. Because, I mean, yes, there's a whole steroid thing, around in the early 90s when Vince McMahon got in real trouble on that one. But he didn't do anything else. It's like, take your vitamins, say your prayers, and drink your milk, brother. That's pretty much him. Yeah, and I do think the Hogan Knows Best after that didn't go so well around those years, I would say. Oh, damn it. The weed fell out of the pipe.
Wow.
You can believe that. And even when you packed it down, it still fell off. Hilarious. Anyways, Hulk Hogan. What are your guys' thoughts about Hulk Hogan? I know he definitely was one of the key figures of wrestling around in my time when he did NWO. Do I think he's definitely in one of the faces of Mount Rushmore? I mean, absolutely, for sure. My Mount Rushmore would be him, Undertaker, Stone Cold, and John Cena. We have to look at different type of eras. Say no more. Hulk Hogan, Undertaker, Stone Cold, and John Cena are the top four. For at least the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling, greatest of all time is definitely Undertaker's, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, and John Cena. The four greatest of all time, Mount Rushmore is that, in my opinion at least. I love to say Mick Foley, but Mick Foley is he definitely put so much, he definitely roughed his body up quite a bit. And that's why his career definitely didn't go very, very well in the end. That's why he had to end things in 1997, 98 because of how much banged up his body was. And he kept on doing it for within 5 to 10 years. Because he did ECW, FMW, battles with Terry Funk, rest in peace, and had death matches where if they fall on something, it explodes. Exploding death matches, yeah. Which was crazy around that time. So it definitely gave a quite amount of years out of his career getting involved in those matches. And so that's when it comes for greatest of all time, it's who really consistently wrestled as much as they can and entertained the hell out of us throughout so many years. And that's Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, and John Cena. Those are my top four. You know the worst part? Actually, there are two worst parts. First worst part is that there was rumors that Hulk Hogan was on his deathbed, and there were quite a amount of his peers that blatantly deny, that he was in his deathbed. He was this, still his perky, take your vitamins, and drink your milk, brother, type of attitude. He was like that, and then boom, he's gone. That's, crazy, how your heart works. Hell, you could even be in your teens and have a heart attack. Sometimes with a rare genetic thing, but it's crazy, to think that you could be healthy one day, as great as ever, and all of a sudden, bam, heart attack, dead. And unfortunately, that's what happened with Hulk Hogan. And another worst thing is that him and Eric Bischoff and now Kurt Angle are promoting real American freestyle wrestling. And that we're not talking professional wrestling. We're actually talking the wrestling you see in the Olympics. They will have their own brand for that type of wrestling. And Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff and Kurt Angle, from what I'm overhearing, will be a part. Well, now it's just Eric Bischoff and Kurt Angle now. So it's kind of hard, because when it comes for Eric Bischoff believes so much in Hulk Hogan than ever before when he joined forces with WCW and got to be one of the best duo partnerships that he has ever done throughout his career, even at its worst moments, especially Bash at the Beach 2000. They are very widely known, for their work there together. And then, of course, he also did his work in TNA. Not his greatest work, but he definitely worked with TNA, along with Bischoff as well. And things didn't go the way things go for TNA around that time, but it is what it is. But what are your memories of Hulk Hogan?
Just that, he was a wrestler. He was also in Three Ninjas.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, not only was in, you know, wrestling, but he was appearing in movies, TV. Pretty much, yes, the American culture icon. So, and he mentioned he got to see him in Three Ninjas. Yeah, he was then in so many other films uh, like Suburban Commando, I think, and he had his own, cartoon rock and wrestling connection.
Right.
And that was the big show, and that was the big rock and wrestling era, where not just Hulk Hogan gets involved, but one who played Mario in Super Mario Brothers show.
Oh, I know who you're talking about, but
He also played the father for Cyndi Lauper's Girls Want to Have Fun. She also took part in WrestleMania, the first WrestleMania, because of the rock and wrestling connection. Show. Lou Albano, Captain Lou Albano. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, on April 30th, Hulk Hogan announced that he was going to be the commissioner for Real American Freestyle Wrestling. Well, he's now trying to figure out who would be next as commissioner. It's going to be a little bit hard. And not just that, the first Real American Freestyle Wrestling event is actually going to take place in Cleveland, Ohio. So, ain't that something? We all know that pro wrestling is a very damning company to go through. You definitely entertain the audience with the stories and everything, but obviously, all those acrobatics and moves, the usual moves that they always do, and the bumps that they take good a lot of wear and tear on your body. And that's where I always respect the pro wrestlers of what they do. They try to make sure that they follow through their proper shtick and make sure nothing goes as wrong as humanely as possible. And if a bump does happen, it happens. It's part of how good things go in pro wrestling. And then they do it for years upon years upon years. And more they do it, especially with bumps, more wear and tear it goes through, to the point where if you do too much of it, you could get an injury. And it has happened numerous times throughout, pro wrestling. Sometimes some wrestlers who are injured just kept going and going and going. And I totally respect for those that try to keep going and entertain the hell out of us and not focus on their own health. But it is important that the wrestlers do have to focus on their own health because, well, obviously they got to be 100% to entertain, right? I know AEW doesn't have that, type of a record where are you 100%? No. Are you at least medically okay? Yeah. All right, you can go. Sorry about that, guys. I was trying to figure out about reheating and all that other stuff. So, outside of the conversation we're having about Hulk Hogan, um, our microwave that we've always used has officially took a shit. So, thankfully, or not thankfully, due to sad circumstances, we had my dad's microwave. And we are now currently using it. Because obviously it's working. So yes, it has a purpose being here. So, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, it's been a crazy week. We lost Ozzy Osbourne 2 days ago. And I'm telling you right now, that death really, really did not. I mean, it's one of those deaths that really devastated me. Because now, not too long, like about 17 days, ago, before his death, he pretty much did his final show back at the beginning, Brighton, along with the original members of Black Sabbath. They did so much for the show. $190 million for Parkinson's research. $190 million. And Ozzy gave everything he had in that show. He was in stage 5 Parkinson's, and he had to not take medication in order to do the show. Because whenever he's not in medication, he's in pain all the time. So with him not in painkillers, he said that him rocking out is his painkiller. And like I said, he gave everything that he had for that show. Now he's gone. And pretty much everybody in Brighton and everybody that paid that pay-per-view and everything else are definitely freaking grateful, 100%, to witness the last show Ozzy Osbourne ever did. To make things even better, there will be a documentary format film involving about what happened down at the last concert for Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath. And my dad was is one of his absolute favorite artists that he's ever listened to. Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy Osbourne, Ozzy Osbourne, Ozzy Osbourne. He was a guy that definitely loved his Ozzy Osbourne songs and albums. Yeah, I remember him owning Blizzard of Oz. That was one of his greatest albums. Another great album, Diary of a Madman. Yeah, man. Trust me, I was really, really saddened to hear about his passing. To be honest, I was just as more devastated as I was when I when I first saw Dad when I went to his apartment that day. So it shows how much I have so much respect for Ozzy Osbourne as an entertainer, and how not just helped out entertain so many people, but in particular helped entertain my dad throughout his life. And that's why it hurts so much. Now, Hulk Hogan. Like, oh my God. Not only that, we also lost Malcolm Jamal Warner. He played Theo in Cosby Show. Died from a drowning. Got caught in the rip current and never recovered. So yeah, I mean it's been a crazy week that we lose these three people within a week. One person that I want to protect as much as possible, Steve Burns. Man, you know, remember the time we thought he was actually dead because the rumors were so widespread back then that he died. But obviously he didn't die. But it really showed of how much, you know, Steve really made an impact throughout children around in the 90s, especially me. I mean, there was Barney, but Steve definitely was the one for at least for me, and quite amount of any other like 90s children probably would say Blue's Clues. Steve and Blue are one of the mainstays of my childhood, pretty much. You know, it's what most important that I do want to see him, you know, meet him and tell him how much he's meant to me. Now I'm hearing even greater news that he's trying to do this podcast, and I would suggest if we need to do the podcast, better get the everything set up soon, especially for what's going on right now. So please protect Steve Burns at all costs. Now, another one I also want to send my thoughts and prayers to for Hulk Hogan's death. Kevin Nash, one of the original members of NWO. Now I've figured out that X-Pac was also an original NWO member. Recently, I did get to see Ric Flair's interview with TMZ Sports because TMZ was the first to report Hulk Hogan's death. So pretty much, like I mentioned, it happened in Clearwater's Florida home, his home, and the police were there and everything. So pretty much the Brooklyn. I'm trying to figure out how would TMZ get the report that he's dead, like right as soon as the doctors announced him dead. But they had the interview with Ric Flair, and he's devastated. He's absolutely devastated. Right, I know, as I mentioned before, he can be one of the polarizing figures for what he has done throughout the past 10, 15 years. Of him, with the racist issue and sex tape and all that other stuff and all the weird calls and voicemails that you hear from Hulk Hogan. The number one thing to remember is that if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, WWF would still be regional. If it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, pro wrestling world, would not be this known at all, completely. If it wasn't for Hulk, if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, people like Stone Cold, Undertaker, John Cena, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, that have these ultimate celebrity level superstar, I wouldn't say figures, but like title superstar shows everything that you need to do to be a superstar. And they do it in their own different ways. Where pretty much, pro wrestling is full of superstars. And then of course sports entertainment is full of superstars. But if there was a superstar that definitely had a massive push, Hulk Hogan. Not only won that championship against Iron Sheik, but became an American cultural icon. Only showed up in the commercials. Only say your prayers, take your vitamins, drink your milk. Brother. Rock and Wrestling Connection show that was done by the similar creators that did the Super Mario Super Show, where Lou Albano was in there. And Lou Albano. And he also, Lou Albano also helped plays, played Cyndi Lauper's father. And even Cyndi Lauper got to be part of WrestleMania, the first WrestleMania. emotional. Yeah. Rest in peace, Hulk. All right, guys. I think we're gonna have to end it here, but put it down in the comments of your thoughts on Hulk Hogan, favorite memories of Hulk Hogan, how much Hulk Hogan has meant to the entire industry, and how much Hulk Hogan has meant to you personally. Don't know if there's going to be another special type of stream tomorrow. We'll soon see. So maybe we'll see you guys next time.